6 weeks away from Cutover actually beginning. So I have not had an actual knowledge transfer session from the beginning. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll just we'll go through, and any questions that we have. I want to make sure before I start sharing my screen. Jackie, can you also see if you can start the transcription recording as well?
Yeah, it started.
Wonderful.
I see it on my screen.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just make a note very quickly. We'll give it just one more minute, everyone.
Actually, I think for my team, everybody's here that's not on vacation. There's nobody missing. Yeah.
We had a couple more. Let me run through and just make sure, because we had others that were also invited. So let me just make sure that we have everyone who has accepted. Not sure if Angela is going to be able to make it.
We had to go on site, and I know she was having a little, she was planning to. I can text her, I think, get started, and then she'll join and she's part of my team, so I'll share the recording with her as well.
Okay, very good. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started, everyone. Good morning. My name is Candace Wells, and I am a consultant working with the CST scheduling team, primarily as an application analyst. And over the last couple of years, I have been tasked, with managing the scheduling cutovers from Children's and Women's, VGH, and BC Cancer Prince George. And at this time, I am just looking to transition as much information as possible to the different teams. So what I would like to ask all of you is, if you could, in the chat, if you wouldn't mind putting in your name, your the clinic, or the department, so sorry, the team or the department that you are working with. That way I have record of it, and I can go back just so I know who we're working with today. Also, if we have questions, I will definitely leave time at the end for questions, but please don't hesitate to stop. This is going to be, we're going to start the conversation today with really a basic question to this group of, are you involved in any cutovers at this time? And if so, at what stage are you at for that scheduling cutover? So is anyone today involved with scheduling cutover?
Yeah, we're gonna start planning BGH and C&W, and we've been supporting with the UBC. So cycle 2, right? That's starting up.
Okay, so you have not, you haven't officially started the planning for VGH and CW cycle 2 yet, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna, and sorry, Linda's Skyping me at the same time. We're gonna be talking about it in September. We're meeting with the clinical site CISs.
Okay. Okay, very good. I just wanted to have an understanding of where we should begin today, if there's anything that we needed to absolutely focus on first. So what I have here is I have a document that I've been working with. Can everyone see the screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, so this is just a project plan document that I've been working on. You can see it goes through just the entire life cycle of the scheduling cutover to the end. So I'd like to go over that with you. I have some documents here that have templates that, again, these are just things that I use typically, but just wanted to be able to present some examples. So we'll go ahead and start off. My thought is we're going to go through and spend the majority of the time on this task list so that all of you can ask any questions. Again, unfortunately, this is a work in progress, so this is not exclusive of all of the tasks that are needed to be done. There are little subtasks that I've been adding in, but this will give you a very good start. Okay, so starting with scheduling cutover, the beginning of projects, typically what I do is at the very beginning of the project, I will start on these first tasks. One, if I'm assigned to cutover, the first thing I do, I determine which clinics are within the scope, and I begin a master tracker document. And the master tracker document for me, let me show you down here. I have one here. This is what I used for VGH. And what this is just really a document for me to be able to add all of the information in, or as much as possible, that I can go in then and filter if I need to filter out. This was very helpful from VGH because we had over 50 clinics and we had 13 to 14 different scheduling systems that were being utilized. So by putting everything into one, I was able to do a lot of filtering and go through and really determine how many clinics do we have from PCIS and how many do we have from other systems, and how many are just going to use clinic slates and so forth. So if you're looking here, this is just the document. It gives the basic information starting with. It shows what their legacy registration and scheduling system is, and then also for the extracts. As I keep going, I have just again information for all of the different extracts, where we're at with that. And I did this because, again, we had so many different extracts that we were requesting, so I needed to be able to track it better. Then we went through even questions of who's validating, so different clinics with, if they did not have an extract to pull, I wanted to make sure I could document in here who was responsible for validating then the wait list and everything. Again, continuing over, I have on here the cutover strategy, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. And then also the delta and waitlist strategy, the level of difficulty. This helped me determine which clinics, including in on which clinics, the number of appointments they had. But we had some some outside of VGH help. And by having the level of difficulty, I was able to determine anything with a simple, for example, we could give to the temporary staff that was brought in to assist. So again, this document, it just kind of has grown. It shows all the information there, start date for AAR, the scheduling cutover start date, the number of clerks needed. So it gives me as much information as I can put in here, just so I have that reference, a very quick look. And then also I include who the CST scheduling AA and BAs are, and the Reg Sketch CIL, CIS, again, just for that very quick ability to find out information. Okay, So that is the master tracker document. Of course, you don't have to have anything like that. That's just something I found very helpful when you have multiple clinics. After I determined,
sorry, Candace, do you have this stored on your scheduling Confluence page, this form?
yes, after this call, I will send out links to all of the documents, plus along with this this cutover, everything will be on Confluence.
Perfect.
Okay. After that, then I confirm all scheduling and registration systems used by clinics. So again, just breaking down, are all of the clinics involved for BC Cancer, for example? It's very straightforward. It's all case. With VGH, again, we had multiple different scheduling systems, really only one registration system at that time was being used. So I like to confirm all of that. I know we have a questionnaire that is always sent in, and it's on Confluence. However, I do a second confirmation. I go in and I reach out to each clinic or the teams working with each clinic to just confirm that we do have the appropriate scheduling registration and that we don't have any additional systems that we need to be aware of. The next task is confirm if clinics have wait lists and what systems are used. So again, I know we are asking these questions. I just do another validation because wait list, especially clinics don't always understand what a wait list could involve or the different types of wait lists that we would need. Also, they are looking at, wait lists that they have in their current legacy system, and they don't always think of, well, I have a drawer with waitlist patients that's all on paper, or we have it on post-it notes, and these are all the different examples we came across. So I always do another round checking with the clinics of if they have any sort of wait list at all and how they keep that wait list. Is it in an electronic system, their current scheduling system, Excel, or paper, or etc. After that, I try to attend some of the CST design sessions. I always recommend this because the more you can attend, the more workflows and unique builds that you can actually start learning about, which of course are going to help with putting together your strategy, your SOPs, and even the extract requests. From there, I document clinic managers and lead clerks for each clinics, and I always ask the clinic manager and lead clerk if I have any questions. May I have their approval to go ahead and reach out to them via email and just follow up with any questions throughout the project life cycle. This also allows me, by having the lead clerks' names and the clinic managers, when it comes time to have individual conversations with each clinic regarding their specific cutover details. This gives me that information, and it allows me just to continue those conversations and really prepare everyone for what cutover is, what it includes, their responsibility, and the importance of the scheduling cutover participation. And then finally, at the beginning of the project, I request a scheduling volume extract from all legacy systems. This is extremely important to pull in at the very beginning of the project so that you have ample time to be able to review the extracts. One, also get an idea of how many appointments and waitlist patients are possibly out there, but also have an understanding of how they are using their current legacy system to schedule. A lesson learned, what we found with VGH, for example, PCIS, they had very simple appointment types, R30, R15, N30, N60. And then they used comments and other ways of really determining what type of appointment. So when you get down into the project plan of trying to do your appointment type mapping from Legacy to Cerner, having this information very early is going to assist in making sure that your mapping is done correctly and completely. Any questions about the first part of this, the beginning project tasks? Okay, let's go ahead down. Next section I have is scheduling cutover extract tasks. So shortly after I receive my scheduling volume extracts, I start looking at, well, what do I need? Do I need anything different for my future extracts for the actual cutover itself? So the volume extract, I always ask them to pull information from the day they're pulling forward. That way I can get an understanding of how many appointments are currently on their books. So then I take that information and I start looking at the legacy appointment types. I document all of those to start my future mapping of course, legacy system to Cerner. So I utilize those volume extracts to really start that and see if I need to look for other fields within the legacy system to pull some information. When I'm creating the extract or requesting the extract from IMITS or from another team, a few things that I consider are what questions are asked when scheduling patients. Very important because, as you know, we have scheduling accept format questions. So we need to know, are they asking those same questions in their current state? And if they are, how are they documenting them? And if they are not, then how are we going to map those into the future state into Cerner? What type of information can be pulled from the legacy system? Again, this goes back to, are there comments? Are there durations that we can pull from it? Resources, questions such as appointment reminders, can you pull that? An interpreter and so forth. And then I compare the legacy system fields. So I have to know, I have to understand what can be pulled from the legacy system or what they collect in the legacy system so I can compare it to the Cerner SAF fields, which will help with mapping. It can identify gaps. If they have fields that we have not considered, we're taking a look at all of that to try and just really ensure that we have a clean map from legacy to Cerner. And then what type of information, again, is collected in legacy system for waitlist patients? So then I take the same thought, the same considerations, and I really put it into waitlist. And then can an extract be pulled for waitlist? If not, how are they kept? And then that is going to help me determine my strategy for waitlist. If we're going to only have extracts for waitlist patients for certain clinics and others are going to have to bring a printout, bring their stack of waitlist patients, or how that's going to be needed to be done. After that, and I apologize, let me make this a little bigger. There we go. After I start looking at all that, I create the JIRAs for extracts. I usually will request an all patient, a delta, and then a resource unavailable. If they currently use their legacy system to block off for meetings, vacations, and such, those type of things. The tab here called extracts. What I've done is I've included examples of all of the extract JIRAs that I've created for BC Cancer, CNW, and VGH, just as examples. If anyone would like those, I can include that. We, of course, create those JIRAs, and we always assign those to the IMETS team. And then if there are systems that are not done by IMETS, that are not managed by IMETS, I still recommend opening a JIRA and then just documenting in. For VGH, for example, we had to do a lot of it through email. Still try to keep a JIRA going, but we had to do a lot of the communication back and forth through email with those other legacy systems. And then I also work for the extract. I also work with the CST registration team for a few considerations. One, what registration fields will be required to be cut over? So very important that we understand for registration, if scheduling has to create the encounter, we need to make sure we can confirm with registration, well, what fields are expected to be cut over with every encounter, because we want to make sure that's all included in a scheduling extract. Next, can one extract be used for both scheduling and registration? So with BC Cancer Prince George, we were able to combine the scheduling and registration extracts into one, and that way we had less requests for IMETS, and we had everything. So we knew registration and scheduling, we were all using the same information. Then we also have to consider the mapping of the registration fields, and the registration team will work with that, but we have to make sure we have that if we are needing to do any mapping within the extract prior to submitting the request to IMETS to create the actual extract itself. And then just understanding the encounter strategy for each clinic, again, for documentation, for any type of mapping within the extract, etc. Any questions on the scheduling cutover extract tasks?
I have a couple. First, I want to say yes, please. We would love to be sent your examples, the JIRA tickets for the extracts. And then you had mentioned that for BC Cancer, that you were able to combine the scheduling and the registration extracts. Was that possible for PCIS? Did you do that for VGH?
We did not, and I think that I don't think there was. And I apologize, Jackie. Let me take a step back. We always, with the scheduling extracts, we always have the registration information fields included in our scheduling extracts. They're usually at the end. So I work with the registration team no matter what. For VGH, what they did was they created their extract requests, and then I took their extract request and I just pulled some of their fields out that I knew would be required from scheduling and added it into my extract as well. For BC Cancer, because we had an extract that was really solid extract, we decided to try to combine it together just to see how it would work, and it was very successful. So I think that's definitely a decision per site, per cutover strategy, reg sketch cutover strategy. I think that's a decision that can be looked at of can the two extracts be put together? It definitely just made it easier. It does take a little more work. You have to really look at what registration is doing, what scheduling is doing, and really map the extract out to really flow better. That's the only hiccup we had for Prince George. And for Surrey Abbotsford, we're just looking at the order of the fields just a little differently to make it flow a little better from registration to scheduling. Does that answer your question, Jackie?
Yes, and
Okay.
when you mean like make it flow, so you get the extracts from IMITs and then you kind of like move columns around to how it will flow better for the booking clerks that are doing the cutover.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's a lot of work that will happen between your team and IMITS, for example. And that's where I start that work all the way back with the volume extracts that I showed up here. I use the extract from the previous go live as my starting to ask them to pull the volumes. And then once I start looking at the considerations for the clinics I'm working with, then that's when I look at that and talk with the registration and say, this is what we used last time. Let's move things around. Let's add these columns, let's remove them, let's move these columns around. I do all of that before I actually submit the actual JIRAs here on line 20, row 26. Before I submit those extracts, I try to get all that work done and then submit the JIRAs for the extracts. And I will say, the sooner you can do this work, the sooner you can receive the volume extracts and start looking at the information and determining it, and then working with registration and your considerations. And the sooner you can open up your JIRAs for the actual all patient delta and resource, that's going to give IMITS more time to be able to just start working on it, because it will take them a while to be able to go in, do all of their building and all of that. One other consideration I just thought of, and I apologize, I will add it in here. Legacy clinic location names. That's another one that you have to make sure that you have considered what are the location names for them. Any other questions, Jackie, or from the group?
Oh, I have another one. So my understanding is I believe that your team, like Armin's team, will still do the extracts for BC Cancer, right? You're still owning that, or
Yes.
Or
I'm sorry, Armin.
yeah,
Please go ahead.
sir. Yeah, I was just gonna say yes. For BC Cancer, yes, Jackie, we're still doing that.
And my understanding for Jackie, and Armin, please correct me if I misunderstood. For Abbotsford and Surrey, at least, we have 4 BAs that will actually be managing the majority of the tasks on this list, including the extracts, also the strategy itself, presenting and managing the work of the cutover for BC Cancer, Surrey, Abbotsford.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Any other questions for the extract? Okay.
BAs, now's your time. No question is wrong.
None at all. Please ask anything you'd like. Okay. We'll have time again at the end, and I apologize, my documents being a little flippy here. I'm going to do one thing if you don't mind. Just be a second, everyone. Let me open it back up. There we go. Okay. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and start talking the strategy itself. Am I correct, everyone, that for RSDQ, you will also be creating the strategy?
Yeah, we will work with the site CISs. They'll do the clinical strategy, and then we'll do the clerical, the red sketch part.
Very good. Okay. So the next part is the strategy, the tasks that go into actually the strategy itself. Again, I work with the CST registration team to understand the encounter strategy. I prepare the strategy PowerPoint, and I have examples that I am happy to send the links to as well, if that's something that would be needed. So part of the strategy when I start doing the PowerPoint, some of the considerations, the first one is I categorize all of the clinics into the type of cutover strategy. So type 1 would be, for example, appointments and encounters are cut over by the scheduling team. Type 2 would be encounters would be cut over by registration, and then the appointments would be cut over by the scheduling team after that. Type 3, this would be your orders to scheduling, the encounter cut over by registration, orders then cut over by providers, and then the appointments are cut over from the request list by the scheduling team. And then type 4 would be your what I call scheduling to orders, usually your diagnostic clinics, where again, encounters are entered by reg or sketch, depending on what's determined for the strategy. And then the appointments are cut over by scheduling team by attaching an order through the appointment attributes. Okay. From there, I also categorize the clinics needing wait list appointments cut over. So I categorize those as well into are they coming from an extract? Are they going to be just ad hoc, no order? Or are they including diagnostic where they are actually will be adding that order on the appointment attributes box as well? I determine how far out the clinics are scheduling those appointments, determine how many appointments and waitlist patients will be cut over, and I document all this. Another large piece is determining if scanning is going to be needed by any of the clinics. So, for example, your diagnostic clinics, will they need to scan the orders into Working Monitor and then index them and then schedule or create the wait list? Also, another determination is if clinic flags are going to be needed by any clinic and will they be added manually versus automated. Then I start breaking out my clinics by their legacy system. Again, this is primarily for VGH, for example, where you have multiple legacy systems. I document which clinics have extracts versus clinic slates so that when I present the strategy, leadership understands how many we'll be able to pull strictly from an extract and how many clinics are going to have to bring their clinic slates in. I start to create that cutover schedule for each clinic while keeping in mind the automated appointment reminder schedule. So if they're having appointment reminders 3 days in advance versus 5, 7, 14, I have to keep all of that in mind. I calculate the total hours for each cutover strategy. And then I determine a delta strategy, extracts versus clinic slates. So you want to make sure to break that out. If you have an extract, your delta strategy may be different than if you have staff bringing in clinic slates, which could include then dual entry. I calculate the cutover resourcing requirements for each clinic, as well as the elbow support staff that I'm going to need. Then I start documenting the scheduling cutover assumptions, recommendations, and dependencies. So very important to be able to present that to leadership as well. I document the cutover logistics, including your room capacity, location of space, number of workstations, printers, scanners, something else I didn't put on here, dual monitors. I need to add that, very important. And then I go back and I always include lessons learned from the previous scheduling cutovers. And that helps me also with my assumptions, my recommendations, and dependencies. I present that scheduling cutover strategy to the CST leadership. And then after that, once it's approved, I prepare a scheduling cutover summary to present to the site leadership. Questions about the strategy?
Do you also have like a template that you use for the two different strategies that you present?
I do.
And you'll share that as well?
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. And again, please understand, everyone, these are the documents I share with all of you. These are ones that I found helpful for me. They very well may not be helpful for all of you. So this is just an example so that you can have something to get started with. So then we go into some additional cutover tasks. Cutover clerks being identified, and as well as the dedicated space. I have those on mine because even though I'm not determining the cutover clerks or the dedicated space, I'm actually following up to ensure that that is happening, that we're moving forward with that. I request a SharePoint site as needed. And then I also set up my Confluence folders so that I have a place to store all of the work I'm doing for cutover. And those are normally under the scheduling for me, at least they're under my individual site clinic scheduling folders. I document all legacy appointment types per clinic. So by going to the additional or going to the design sessions, and I work with the CST scheduling AAs and BAs that are assigned to the project to be able to document all those legacy appointments. I create the crosswalk for data points. So these would be the scheduling accept format fields, for example. The crosswalk could also be for resources. So if we've had this in the legacy system, they were very generic names, and when they were being transitioned over to Cerner, it became more of an actual person's name built as a resource. So you want to make sure you have that mapping as well. And then I create the mapping, of course, for the appointment types so that I can validate that with the site so that they have time to be able to validate it before. Okay. Moving on, then I have the next ones. I have kind of I tried to break down a little bit more timely. So usually around 2 weeks prior to cutover beginning, I validate with the CST scheduling application analyst that their clinic build is completed in prod. The holiday sets have been applied, and I ensure that the Cerner templates have been validated and signed off by the site before cutover begins. And then I also ensure all orders to scheduling have been validated and documented because that will impact the clinical part of this of the cutover itself. From there, I set up my elbow support staff orientation call. I set up also the cutover captain orientation call. I prepare those orientation PowerPoints, and I have examples of all of that. I prepare scheduling SOPs for each clinic. And then we move into actually scheduling the support staff. So while I am doing the support staff, I am then also validating with the site which clerks are going to be available. I have a document, show you here. Nope. I apologize. Oh, there we go. I have this document right here that I used for Prince George, especially, and it was extremely helpful, where the first part is I have it marked as CST scheduling cutover team. This could also be RSDQ. It's whoever is the elbow support, that would be under the first one. And then you start from there. You have your actual clinic cutover captain and all the clerical resources you list out. And then for BC Cancer, for example, we had provincial. For VGH, we had actually temporary clerks that were hired to help with the cutover. I entered their names into this column B. And then strategy, for Prince George, for example, because we had the support staff and clerical staff that went between the scheduling strategy and the oncology strategy and the RT, for example. So I put in which strategy that individual was working with. And then what I did over here was I have actually, I just marked this down. I put the date in under the day of the week, excuse me, and however many weeks you have, I have those. And then I put in the actual daily schedule of our elbow support and the clerical support. And I managed this every day. Every morning I would go in and I would highlight someone, a team member, as green to show that they checked in, that they were working for the day. If someone missed a day, I would cross this out and then add a comment of how I was notified. So I used this document and it was able to give me at a moment's notice to know exactly how many folks were scheduled for the day, for the week, for the entire. I also put their assignments in here under the comments so that I knew who was working what. Again, just an example that I found very helpful when you have multiple clinics and quite a few different clerical team members working with support, working cutover. And then I prepare my cutover tracking documents. So from those, we have my progress report, and I have this document. And what this is, I put in the name of the clinic, the scheduling strategy. That means, so is it ad hoc scheduling? Is it orders to scheduling? Is it scheduling to orders? Once they start, I flip that to in progress. And when they've completed their actual main extract of all patients, that initial, I change it to completed. The estimated number, so earlier when I said I start gathering the estimated number of appointments, I enter those here. So we have a record of what the sites have given us for their estimation. And then the balance total, I enter here the first extract I run for a site or for a clinic for cutover day. I enter the number of appointments here. And then as we complete each day, I just update this, and then that will give me my percentage. Recommended start date, what I put here is recommended start week is when I'm expecting to start cutover for that clinic. And then the furthest date that we have scheduled out and the QA. So this helps me know how far out are we scheduling. If they schedule a year out, we're at 6 months. I can look and go, okay, we've completed the first 6 months. We have another 6 months. And the QA, it's been validated up through the first 3 months, something of that sort. From there, I have a separate tab for deltas because it gets very difficult when you start putting in your all patient extract on and then updating this with the deltas. So what I found for me personally, it was easier than to have a deltas tab where then when I start running the delta extracts, I start adding the same type of information in here. And then finally, the last one, I have the wait list. So if you have clinics that have a wait list, then I have a separate tab for that as well. And This is an example of what my cutover schedule for Prince George looked like. So as you can see for the staff down here, when they worked the shift, I marked it in green. If they were out for one reason or another, I marked it out. I had notes, to tell me if someone leaving early and such. So I just tried to really keep this as up to date as possible. I had an outstanding cutover captain who would let me know in advance, so it made it very easy to manage this. And then I was able to give this to her as well, so she could see how many staff members she had and who ended up working when. Okay. Then I ensure the cutover clerk resources are being trained and scheduled. So again, that's just another one of those that I just, really check in just to make sure, are we on track with that? So that if we're not, we can escalate a concern and move from there. And then I apologize, this was not needed. Okay. 1 week prior to cutover, okay, we have about 10 minutes. I want to make sure I can get through these last few. 1 week prior, you're going to present the elbow support staff cutover orientation. That's what I would do. And I present the cutover captain cutover orientation. I schedule the daily Zoom or Skype or team calls for all of the staff. I prep the SharePoint folders. So I go into SharePoint and I create just the different clinics and I get everything set up. I upload the SOPs to SharePoint and organize that. Ensure I have the registration SOPs available and uploaded to the scheduling SharePoint as well. That way they're very handy and the clerks don't have to go into multiple sites. And then we have here, confirm clerk access to prod domain. That one really is done just ongoing. So that's one that you'll have the week prior. I try to confirm as many of the clerks as possible, again, to raise a red flag if we're not having those. And then printer scanning devices operational. Again, if that's applicable, we try to just find out, have the printers or scanning devices been installed? Has anyone been able to confirm that they are working properly? Day prior to cutover, you will just need to ask the CST AAs to remove the security from the scheduling build. We want to make sure we have that done the day before. We cycle the servers, and then the day of, you're all set. On the cutover day, these are at the very beginning of the day. You have, you create the clerk's files for the day's assignments. You request the attendance sheet from the cutover captain. I start the Zoom Teams meeting, and then I ensure the clerk is signed in. Again, for me personally, that's just confirming with the cutover captain that everyone's being signed in. Daily cutover tasks. Now, these are the ones right here are every day at the start of the day. And then we have daily cutover tasks. So as needed for new clerks, you present a cutover clerk orientation, and it includes, what is cutover, introductions. You review the daily schedule, review the SOP for that particular clinic they're going to be working with, review any mapping documents and extracts with them so that they understand how to read the extract and so forth. Review any outstanding clinics for review outstanding questions for the clinic super user. So if by chance CST has any outstanding questions, usually what we do is we review those before anyone starts for that first day. Provide the scheduling demo. We usually do a short demo with the actual build that they're cutting over, just so that they can understand creating new patients, scheduling an appointment, the registration, encounter strategy, etc. And then we go through how to validate the work at the end of the day or their shift. Also, daily tasks are ensuring Citrix icon is available, ensuring their scheduling preferences are set, making sure they have access, set any user preferences, assisting them with that appointment location, bookshelf, etc. Guiding the clerk through booking the first appointments, and then the CST AAs will monitor the unknown queue for the outstanding items. We direct scheduling resources to resolve by end of day, and then we'll open up the JIRA for any build changes that are needed. And then finally, at the end of the day, you need to ensure that validate appointments that have been scheduled for that day, confirm resources scheduled for next cutover day, update scheduling cutover and progress report, ensure daily attendance is captured on the scheduling resource master tracker, and then also ensure all files are saved and checked back in. So and then review files. Sorry, I knew there was a couple more. So the ensure all files are saved and checked back in. So if you're working on SharePoint, of course, they can check out a file, and we have had a lot of issue with, clerks just forgetting to check them back in or forgetting to save and update the file and all of that. So that's just information, you really check on as well. And then we always did was we review the files that were completed for the day, make sure that they've updated them as they need. We go through, we do spot checking, and we just look then for the next day. Okay, what is the next day we're going to need to be working on? Okay, I know we only have about 6 minutes, everyone. I apologize, but I want to turn it over to all of you for any questions. Nothing at all?
I have a question.
Yes.
Because when you want a SharePoint created at the site, how do you go about asking for that?
What I will have to do, I will be honest with you, Jackie, I'm not sure of the individual we ask. Normally, most of them have a SharePoint, a VGH, BCC, C&W. I believe those SharePoint sites are already out there. So it's more of if you need to request an additional folder at the main level of VGH, for example. So VGH cycle
you mean
1.
Like the pod or something like that, right? CW
yes.
has the pod. Okay.
Yes. But with SharePoint site access, I will make a note of that as well. Do we request access and new pages? Okay, I will make sure I have that information. Any other questions?
Can the BAs reach out to you later if they have questions? Like, I'm going to put this on our YouTube, and I have about 5 people that weren't able to attend that might have questions for you. They can send you out an email.
Well, and I was going to ask Jackie, because right now with BC Cancer, we are moving full steam ahead, and I apologize with doing both Abbotsford and Surrey at the same time. We are in nonstop meetings. But I was going to ask you, Jackie, would it be helpful if we had a follow-up, even a 30-minute follow-up call in a couple of weeks for everyone to be able to review and bring any questions to.
Oh, yes, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. My email just it gets so full that I don't want to miss a question. So I thought having a session where everyone could jump back in might just give us that little bit of flexibility. So if you don't mind, was this helpful at all?
Yes, it's very helpful. Thank you, Candice. Yeah.
My pleasure. If
Yeah,
there's
it's great. Like you've covered everything, and it's, this great tools that you're going to be sending us to, make us successful in our future cutover strategies for scheduling that we'll be doing.
if there are any other, if there's anything else that maybe if anyone would like added to this, or something where I haven't, detailed it out enough, please feel free to go ahead and send me that information, because I'd like to go ahead and get that all added in. I have a few more things I want to add in, just little details to help it even more, but please don't hesitate to just send me anything else that maybe I happen to overlook. Okay?
Hey, Jackie, after this meeting, could you please send the location or the link where you'll be posting the recording for this meeting?
Yes, I
Like
will.
to the group?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
I will for sure. I was planning to.
Sure. And Candice, I'm guessing you'll be sending all the attachments and the things we discussed to the group, like this Excel file and some of the other documents.
I am going to actually send links to Confluence because these documents sometimes get very big. So I'm going to send I'm going to upload, make sure everything's uploaded to Confluence, and then go ahead and send the links out to them, to everyone, so that it'll be easier. If Jackie, do you have any concerns with anyone on your team not having access to Confluence?
No, everybody's got, I make sure that's when they first start that they get access to it.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I think the links that'll be much easier than trying to send out multiple documents.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Candice.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for their time today. I really do appreciate all of you joining me. And again, if there's anything else that you would like me to add in or that I didn't cover, please feel free to send me a quick email. And Jackie, I will go ahead and start working on a follow-up call for about 2 weeks out, where we can just do a quick come together and ask any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. You've done a fantastic job. This is so detailed and step by step. So thank you so much for your
Thank you,
effort.
Jackie. I appreciate that. My pleasure. And I hope everyone has a lovely day.
Hey, bye everyone.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye.
Candice.
Thank you, Candice.
Thank you.